Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and welcome back, Lee Harris from Blue Marine Travel. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Ria. Thanks for having me once more. It's been another interesting week, shall we say, for travel?
Well, I can imagine. I mean, I remember a couple weeks back we were talking that things are slowing down. Well, it's all kicked off once again, and it's not even just due to the current situation in the world in regards to the pandemic. Straight into it. What's going on in Heathrow at the moment?
Yeah, so as if UK crew have not had enough to contend with, what with COVID playing havoc with flight schedules and the impending fallout regarding travel due to Brexit within Europe. Unfortunately, UK crew have now got a strike to contend with as well. Thousands of workers at London's Heathrow Airport have announced planned strike action for next month. This is due to the airport wanting to cut staff's wages because of the loss of income due to the COVID pandemic. The job action was announced yesterday and will take place on 4 separate days throughout December. The Unite Union announced the strike yesterday, and their members are boasting firefighters, engineers, baggage handlers and operational staff members at Heathrow. So basically what it means is that the strike is effectively going to close the airport. Now the 4 days of action are going to take place on the following dates. We have Tuesday, December the 1st, that's a 24-hour strike. Monday, December the 14th, that's the second 24-hour strike. And then Thursday, December the 17th through Friday, December the 18th, that's going to be a 48-hour long strike. Obviously, any crew who have flights booked into or out of Heathrow on these dates, please keep a close check on your flights, either with your travel agent or directly with the airline to see whether you have been or will be affected.
How does that work then? If you have a flight booked on one of those days, like I know when there's issues with airlines, et cetera, they will reschedule you. It's of no extra cost. Does that work the same when there's strikes going on?
It depends. It can do sometimes. I mean, normally airlines take the act of God route, shall we say. So if it's something that they've had specific hands-on dealings with, then they take responsibility for it. With strikes, it can be slightly different. It depends on the airline that you're flying with. You'll tend to find that they will offer you, obviously, especially with COVID as well, a free change of flight. Or a cancellation or a refund, but obviously it's best to keep in contact with your travel agent or with the airline if your flight's been affected, and they'll tell you the right way to go.
Well, insanity. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're looking at flight schedules being reduced. We're looking at all these issues, and Christmas, of course. Crew want to get home and then back to work again, depending on what their break time is. And to throw that in the mix is a bit of a bummer for sure. What's going on with British Airways and United Airways?
So it's actually American Airlines and British Airways and the One World Alliance. They've partnered to launch optional COVID-19 testing on select transatlantic flights from the United States to Heathrow. As you know, we've spoken previously on the show a couple of weeks ago with regards to United Airlines doing a COVID-free flight. This is basically British Airways, American Airlines, and the One World carriers. It's their sort of way of dealing with the COVID-free flight, shall we say. Basically, how they're going to do it is they're going to offer free flights to passengers. They'll take the first one 72 hours before their flight departs. This will be a test that will be done at home. The second test will be done on arrival at London Heathrow Airport. This will be a swab test, a lamp test. And then the third test they will pick up from the airport, and they will take 72 hours after they've arrived at Heathrow. These are going to initially be free of charge. It's on a volunteer basis at the moment, so you don't have to take them, and you still will be allowed to fly on the flights. But the flights that are affected are the American Airlines 50 flight from Dallas-Fort Worth to London Heathrow, the BA 114 from New York JFK to London Heathrow, and also the BA 268 from Los Angeles to London Heathrow. Basically, the free test approach is aimed at validating a customer's negative status for COVID-19 throughout the whole travel journey. So meanwhile, the third test is intended to further confirm the results of the first 2 tests and demonstrate that only 1 or 2 tests will be sufficient to allow travel to safely restart.
Wow, it seems like an awful lot of testing, but to be honest, too much testing is far better than no testing at all, I would think.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it would make more sense to me if we could find a uniformed approach with all the airlines, like the way that United are doing, where you have your test done at check-in, you get your results back. If it's negative, you get on a flight and you know you've got a COVID-free flight. That seems the perfect way to me. Obviously, British Airways and American Airlines, they've decided to go a different route. It means the free tests instead of just the one. But yeah, I guess the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll see. We'll see what comes of it.
Are there any other steps that airlines are taking in order to make sure that flying is safe?
Obviously, we've still got the blocking of middle seats. Certain airlines are doing that. I've actually just got a quick update actually for any crew who are traveling and still a little wary due to COVID. Delta this week announced that they're extending the blocking of middle seats now right for until March 2021, which is good news. And that's on all of their operated flights, not just domestic. But as the saying goes, unfortunately, what the right hand gives, the left hand takes away. JetBlue have announced that they're ending the blocking of middle seats as from January 8th.
Well, JetBlue aren't JetBlue are more of an economy airline, aren't they?
Yeah, they're more what we call a low-cost online carrier. At the moment, they are sort of just within the US and the Caribbean. There is actually news that they're going to be branching out to London. They've just got a slot at, I believe it's either Gatwick Airport, I believe. So they're going to be coming transatlantic as from next year. But yeah, at the moment, they are what is classed as a low-cost carrier.
Do you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with having the middle seat empty, because I don't know about you, but I have noticed one thing in my years, which are very few, that when I first started flying, seats were so much more lush. I mean, it was a bigger space, and it just seems like as time has gone on, they get smaller and smaller and smaller, and the space that you have gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So to have that middle seat, you can breathe.
It's probably like, as you say, I mean, with the middle seat taken out, it's probably like how it used to be, says the 42-year-old, going back in time. But yeah, no, I totally agree. People are crammed in now, the space is smaller, your leg pitch and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I think taking the middle seat out, Delta Airlines are doing a good approach in my eyes anyway.
Yeah, I call it cattle class because you're crammed in there like cattle. Do you know what? They've come up with a great marketing plan, someone has, that I think is absolutely ridiculous and sort of weird. But there's an airline doing something strange. What is it?
Yeah, so EVA Air have got a new flight to nowhere concept taking off in Taiwan with the aim of helping passengers find love. I think this is brilliant, I've got to say. So basically, it's launching special speed dating flights for singles during which they'll sit next to someone they've been paired with by lucky dip. So fingers crossed you get a good one. Fly, love is in the air, is the airline advertising strapline, which also sets up EVA flight attendants as love cupids, which is just a great name also. Passengers are encouraged to engage in deep conversations on the 3-hour flight, which will take off from and land at Taipei Airport, basically circling the airspace above Taiwan whilst you try to fall in love. There will also be a 2-hour date back on the ground where the guests can mingle with more potential partners. What I would say for any crew who are looking to find love, this could be an interesting way to meet a potential partner. And I'm sorry.
It can also be like torture, really, because if you're stuck by somebody who doesn't tick any of your boxes whatsoever and is a complete bore beyond belief and as ugly as sin, you're literally being tortured for 3 hours in a tin can in the middle of the sky.
Indeed. It is real potluck, isn't it? I mean, just keep your fingers crossed and hope for the best. But what I will say as well, if any crew take up this offer and go on it for listening to this, they need to let us know because we want to go to the wedding.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I wonder where the wedding will be, up in the sky as well, or will they choose a helicopter or something?
Who knows?
Unbelievable. You know what? You got to give them kudos for trying to find ways to, get the airlines flying again. But I mean, aren't they going to have to do some sort of social distancing as well? Because it is still, the middle of COVID times.
Well, like you say, I mean, if you do get that ball, I mean, you might be quite chuffed if the middle seat's blocked on that flight, mightn't you?
Right. I am not signing up for that. I am just telling you now, I will not be that guinea pig.
Well, I did get you. That's my Christmas gift to you, Ria. I bought you a ticket.
Excellent. That ranks right up there with a coffin for me. Do you have any crew questions this week?
I did. I had an interesting question this week. Basically, a crew member had heard a rumor that the Hamburg airport was going to become the world's first COVID-free airport, i.e. every passenger and crew member on every flight will be tested, and if they test positive, they'd be unable to travel. Now, I have done some digging. Unfortunately, this is not the case. However, Austrian Airlines and Lufthansa are introducing flights for which the entire crew and all passengers will be tested on COVID-19 free of charge. This is only select flights though. The COVID-19 tested flights will be offered on selected flights between Munich and Hamburg and Vienna and Hamburg, and results, get this, will be back in less than 10 minutes.
Wow. Do you know what? That
Yeah.
seems to be an ongoing theme right now. A lot of people are getting quite angry that they're being requested to pay for these tests. Do you think going into the future that airlines are going to be just having these tests as part of the flight, just as a normal thing, instead of saying you've got to go to this center over here, get your test, blah, blah, blah? You know, they're saying it's costing us more money. We're not going to go anywhere because we have to have this test. Will airlines implement that test as just part of the run-of-the-mill thing to do?
I hope so, in all honesty. I mean, just build it into the fare that people are paying, you know? And if you do it that way, then people don't notice as much. I mean, if you're then asking people to go to the airport and then forking out 80 euros or 50 pounds or whatever it is, then that's what tends to get people's backs up, you know, in my eyes anyway. If you actually build that test into the fare, people are none the wiser. They don't know any different that they've actually had to pay on top for the COVID test. Build it into the fare, just have it as another process that you're going to go through, you know, whilst you're at check-in. And especially now, if they're saying they can get test results back within 10 minutes, it's not really going to impact on you that much, to be quite honest. So I'm all for it, in total honesty. I mean, it gives people peace of mind that they're going to be traveling. They know that everybody's tested negative for COVID. You know, and you can get on your way, and hopefully that will also cut down on the quarantine needs when you get to wherever you need to go.
Yeah, I find it rather interesting because there's a lot of people that really are complaining about this. And I know for a fact that these are going to be the same people that if they got infected on a flight as a result of another passenger having COVID, they would be just as angry, but on the other side of things, because nobody tested that passenger and they ended up getting COVID or lost a loved one as a result of the airline not doing their job, as it were.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's just human nature, isn't it? You know, airlines or airports or whatever, that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, I guess. But I just think for the greater good to try and get travel back to where it was. I say back to where it was, even to some kind of level of what it was previous to COVID, then it just seems to be a no-brainer. You know, just get the testing in place. We're now seeing that these airlines are coming up with all these different ways to do it. So it's clearly something that can be done. It's just now getting out, you know, to more flights, more airports. And then once we're there, you know, fingers crossed, hopefully we'll see these border closures, etc., you know, come away. So.
Yeah, well, I think we're pretty much straight across the face of the planet. We're pretty much ready for normal. You know, everyone says this new normal. I don't care what it is, but the word normal has to be part of it. And we need to just get back to living and not being worried so much, because it's not, you know, it's not good for your health overall to be worrying consistently about everything. And this situation has made us worry. So if we can take one of those things away, buy a COVID test, jumping on a plane to continue on working and living, then it's really nothing.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think if people could see that, that means that they could get back on holidays and all the rest of it. Because let's face it, I mean, once this is all over and done with, people are going to need holidays. You know, you can only be in lockdown for so long, you know, before it starts affecting you. I don't care who you are or what you do. You know, if you are taken away from loved ones for however long, you know, it does affect you. So for sure, there's going to be a big demand, I would imagine, for flights sooner rather than later. So yeah, get these processes in place and let's get people moving again.
Brilliant. Well, Lee, thank you ever so much once again for all of your insight. It's very invaluable.
It's always a pleasure. I love being here. So you can't get rid of me just yet, Ria.
I wasn't trying, not yet anyway. Once again, you've been watching another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. Please tune in again next week.